Well, hello everybody. It's BCR coming at you from the BCR garage. Today we have a pretty simple project. I'm going to be just changing the oil in my 2013 Road Glide Custom. And I thought I'd film it, even though there are quite a few vids on the YouTube. I thought I'd just give my take on it. So let's dig right in. So for supplies, you're going to need 4 quarts of the oil of your choice. For me, it's this Mobil 1 V-Twin full synthetic 2050. And then either a Harley filter or possibly a K&N or whatever you choose to use. I've been using or running with the K&N with the nut welded on the end. And you'll need some disposable gloves, a ratchet, 3/8 inch ratchet, and then a 5/8 inch socket, a 17 mil socket if you use the K&N filter. If you don't, you'll need some type of oil filter wrench. Harley sells a good one. You'll need a 3/8 inch torque wrench, and then some O-rings. I got this pack here. I think there's probably 5 packs of 10 in there from Torque. This will last me the rest of my life. You'll also need a couple of extensions. The longer one to get the oil filter off, and then possibly a shorter one to help you access the drain plug. And make sure you got plenty of disposable shop towels. And another thing that comes in real handy is these mats here. You can get a 4-pack for like $7 or $8 at Harbor Freight. They just go together like a puzzle, and you just lay them on the floor, and it makes it a lot nicer than laying on a hard, cold concrete floor. And then, of course, you'll need a beer to drink while your oil is draining. I've got a Lakefront Brewery River West Stein. It's a good beer for a nice, well, kind of a chilly autumn day. I think it's probably upper 50s. This here is not for this project. This is for my Softail. I'll be doing that maybe next week. And I'll be doing all 3 holes. That's the Maxima Racing Oils V-Twin engine oil change, or actually oil change in a box. Engine, primary, and trans. You'll also need an oil drain pan. I highly recommend this Harley-Davidson one. I think I paid maybe 31 bucks for it. I got it standing up here, you can see. This thing is awesome. It's low profile. As you can see, it'll fit under any bike. It's got a drain spout right there. On the bottom here, it's got a little area to keep your plugs, your drain plug, and your venting plug. And it's also got a little area there where you can stick your drain plugs. And then right here, that's where you can set your oil filter to drain. And it's long enough for you to lay an entire primary case on in case you have a project requiring you to remove your primary. So, great product, highly recommended. Alright, well, the first thing we got to do is get the engine up to operating temperature. So you can take it for a little ride around the block, or in this case I'm just going to let it run in my garage here for 5 minutes. I got the pipes right at the garage door, so hopefully I won't get gassed out. Alright, well, let's get going. Thanks for watching. Alright, so I just let my bike run for about 4 minutes. The oil's nice and warm. And now I'm underneath the bike on the right hand side. I got my drain pan all set to go. And this is the bolt that you want to remove. That's the oil drain plug right there. Don't touch this one here with the one that's inset with the hex head. Don't touch that one. It's this one here. And just FYI, the transmission drain plug is up in here. Alright, so I've got my 5/8 inch socket on my ratchet, and we'll go ahead and break this loose. Shouldn't be too tight. There, it's broke loose. I'm going to move my pan out of the way a little bit so I can get more action on my ratchet. As soon as you think it's finger tight, move your drain pan back in place. And yep, it's finger tight already. Now I have my oil dipstick still screwed in. You want to leave it screwed in until you get this oil flowing, so you don't get a big splash of oil coming out. Alright, now I don't know if you can see the oil flow or not. Hopefully you can see that. Now I'm going to loosen the drain plug. And you should see it come out much stronger. Okay, now the drain plug's loose. You see that? Now it's coming out real strong. So we'll just let that drain, and once it's almost done, we'll start working on the oil filter. I don't like to start on the oil filter until most of the oil is out, because I think it makes less of a mess that way. Okay, here's our drain plug. You always want to inspect the magnet on the end to make sure you don't have any chunks of metal. Mine looks totally clean. And then we'll take that old O-ring off and replace it. Some guys say to just inspect it, but they're so cheap, you're better off just replacing it. That's my recommendation anyway. I think I got 50 of them for maybe $6 or $8. Okay, I'm going to take the drain, or the O-ring, off the drain plug now. You just work it up over the threads. And it pops right off. There she is. Okay, now we'll get a fresh O-ring out. Here's our drain plug. Just set it over the top and gently roll it down. There we go. That's one new drain plug O-ring installed. So now some guys will take an extra step and put some thread sealant on the threads of the drain plug, like some liquid Teflon tape, or I actually have some Permatex high temp thread sealant. I've never used it. I've never had a problem. So I guess that's just an extra insurance step, but I'm not going to use it. A fresh new O-ring is really all you need. Alright, so the oil is down to just drips. So I'll just wipe that off. We got our drain plug all set to go. And just start hand threading it. Definitely don't want to use a tool to start it, because you don't want to cross the threads. and just go hand tight. Right about there. Alright, now I'm going to just put my ratchet on it, give it a couple turns, and then I'll switch over to my torque wrench. Get the drain pan out of the way. You don't have to use a torque wrench on these. A lot of guys don't. You just snug them up. But there is a torque setting or a torque spec from Harley. It's 14 to 21 foot-pounds. There we go. It's just slightly snug there. And but I've got the torque wrench and the spec, so I might as well use it. You don't want to over tighten it and crush your O-ring. So I'll transfer my socket onto my torque wrench. I got it set for 20 foot-pounds. And then whenever you're using a torque wrench, make sure that you're holding it on the handle. In other words, you don't want to hold it up here somewhere. You want to hold it back on the handle. Otherwise, it'll screw up your torque reading. All right, you don't have much room to work under here, that's for sure. Get like 1 or 2 clicks at most before I hit the ground. There we go. Okay, that's about 20 foot-pounds. Okay, now we're back on the other side of the bike, the left side, and we're going to start working on getting the oil filter off. Now there's a lot of techniques people use, everything from soda bottles to old empty quart size oil containers that people cut open and make boats out of them. And then Harley makes a filter for this. It's basically a cut open long filter that you slide under, and it's got a hose attached that you run down your drain pan. Some people like them, some don't. I've never used them, but I've heard a lot of people say they don't like them, that it actually just kind of gets in the way. But I've also heard other people say they like them. But for myself, I just take some disposable shop towels and I just shove them in there under the oil filter. And with all our oil drained out, or at least as much as we can get out, take it off and tip the oil filter back towards you. There's not going to be a whole lot of excess coming out, and most of that will get soaked up with the towels. Okay, so I've got my 17 mil socket on a 6-inch extension. You just work that in there and break her loose. Very easy. These just go on hand tight. Let's see if I can unscrew it here. Yep. Tilt it back like so, and just wiggle it out like that. Okay, she's out. Now I'm going to put that on my oil drain pan. Alright, now I'm going to work my oil soaked rags out of here, and then just clean up in here as best you can. And make sure you clean the face of your oil filter bracket off too. Make sure it's nice and clean. Also make sure there's no leftover gasket from your old filter. Okay, I got all the excess oil cleaned up. It wasn't too bad. My shop towel soaked up most of it. Now we're ready for our new oil filter. I'm going with a K&N wrench off performance oil filter. It's a KN 171C. What's nice about these, other than the nut on the end, they come pre-lubed. I don't know if you can see that, but the gasket's already got some oil on it. Alright, now I'm going to hand tighten the new oil filter. Make sure not to cross thread it. Okay, I got it started. Now you go until the gasket contacts the mating surface and you'll feel it. Right there, it just contacted. And from here you go a 1/2 to 3/4 turn. I'm going to put a little mark on here. Alright, I'm going to put a little mark right here. And I'll see if I can get that a 1/2 turn. Here's a 1/4. You can only get a pinch grip on it. Yeah. Alright, I'm going to throw my socket on there. They say you're not supposed to tighten it with tools, but as long as you got it marked and you're not going beyond the 1/2 to 3/4 turn, it's totally fine. And there she is, 1/2 turn. Problem is, at least if you got big hands like I do, you can only get your fingertips on it, and there's no way you're getting that 1/2 to 3/4 turn with your fingertips. So this works for me. So that's one oil filter installed. Okay, now that we got our filter on, it's time to put some new oil in the oil tank. So grab yourself a filter, or a funnel I should say. This happens to be a Harley-Davidson funnel, but you can get these anywhere. And the manual calls for, at least on the 2013 Road Glide Custom that I'm working on, it calls for adding 3 quarts for starters and then running and checking the oil. I'll probably put just a little bit more than that in there. It usually takes 3.5 quarts. It's a 4-quart maximum, but you never get all the oil out. Okay, I've got my 3 quarts in. Now I'm going to check my cold level. So to do that, you got to screw your dipstick all the way in. And let's see where we're at. It looks like we're full. I'm going to run it and check for leaks and then recheck. Alright, time to fire her up. Got her in neutral. Alright, now I'm going to check the level. My engine isn't hot, it's kind of lukewarm. Right after I started it, I had to take care of something in the house. So the full hot level is supposed to be right at the top of the grid here on the stick, on the dipstick. And cold level is supposed to be right in the middle. So I'm between the middle and the top. So that's good. I'm happy with that. I'll check it again after riding. Alright guys, that's a job done. It's a pretty simple job. The hardest part about it is recording it. But I did want to record it for you guys. Hopefully it'll help somebody. And I'm curious to see how this turns out. So that'll do it from the BCR garage. Until the next time, guys. Cheers.